Pay close attention. What you are seeing today is fulfilling Bible prophecy. Welcome to YPN News, bringing you the news as it relates to Bible prophecy. Katan, what do we have in the news this week?
Well, Jeff, in what appears to be the beginning to the same sort of Western orchestrated coups that we've recently witnessed in Egypt, Bahrain, and Libya, a breakaway military faction identifying as itself as the Free Syrian Army has admitted to carrying out attacks against the Syrian government security forces. Now, the leader of the group said that their essential task is to protect civilians.
Now, the group of self-proclaimed liberators, young men and women who have defected from Syria's feared military, they say because they refused to fire upon protesters, drank coffee and smoked cigarettes as they spoke to a reporter about the Syria they hope to establish, a democratic country where traditional Syrian ideas are done away with and Western ideas reign supreme.
Now, for those in the know, the faction and like-minded supporters gathering to voice their disagreement with the current Syrian regime in several small communities across Syria represent the growing number of protesters. Yet, unlike Egypt and Libya, many outside experts relate that attempting to topple Syria will be a very costly mistake. The UN estimates that approximately 5,000 have been killed during the 9-month crackdown and many more wounded.
Now, the Fox News drew criticism lately when its motto for being, quote, fair and balanced was challenged by evidence demonstrating that the news agency aired footage that misled the public concerning the protest in Russia. According to reports, the video was utilized from events taken from a protest in Athens, Greece, to give the impression of the widespread violent upheaval and rioting stemming from discontent with Vladimir Putin and with his United Russian Party.
One journalist taking a bold stance on the issue purposes that, as opposed to a mere instance of journalistic license, the latest incident represents yet another example of the deliberate use of the media to instigate unrest in countries not kindly disposed to U.S. policy.
And according to one analyst, this latest effort believed to be connected to U.S. dissatisfaction with Russia parliamentary election is, quote, just plain sloppy.
In other news, the war drums are still pounding for conflict with Iran. In a recent interview with CBS News, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, now infamous for his role in helping to repeal the long-standing military policy of don't ask, don't tell, stated that Iran is now 1 year or less away from being able to assemble a nuclear weapon.
Now, when asked about the possibility of a preemptive Israeli attack to prevent such an occurrence and what, if any, complications that might pose for the American government, Secretary Panetta stated that the interests of the American and Israel are the same. A nuclear Iran is unacceptable. If we have to do it, he said, we'll do it.
Now, Secretary Panetta was evasive when asked to clarify, but the interview conducted from a government jet plane nicknamed the Doomsday Plane, the very command station from which the defense secretary and president will conduct a nuclear war, seemed to be a not so subtle hint as to what the it might be. One common interest that the U.S. has with Israel is that it is unacceptable for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, and that if Iran were to develop a nuclear weapon, it would be the United States' duty to try to prevent it from occurring. In fact, Panetta also stated that all options are on the table.
Now, in another story indicating the sort of materialistic insanity characteristic of the Christmas spirit and those who love giving of gifts, hundreds of people poured into an Indianapolis mall this week, shoving and pushing in a manner so frantic and crazed that they actually ripped a mall door right off its hinges.
Now, fights broke out, and a man from another location in New Jersey was stabbed, and police felt compelled to employ pepper spray to control a crowd in Seattle, all because media hype surrounding the release of the advertised limited edition Air Jordan gym shoes. After receiving news of the chaos, Nike representatives went on record as being extremely concerned.
Now, Katan, the culture of hazing and bullying, which has become so typical of our society, has claimed yet another life recently. Danny Chen, a private in the U.S. Army, was found dead in a guard tower far from home in the arid mountainous regions of Afghanistan.
Chen's death initially appeared to be the result of a self-inflicted wound, but increased attention fostered by an online campaign organized by Danny's family and friends demanding answers concerning Chen's death resulted in several individuals, including Danny's platoon leader, being charged with everything from providing false statements to negligent homicide and involuntary manslaughter.
Now, advocates for the Chen family say that regardless of whether or not Danny's death is a result of suicide or homicide, those involved in his relentless bullying and taunting caused his death.
Now, keeping with the military, we're going to turn it over to Larry in regards to some information regarding suicides in the military. Larry?
Thanks, Katan. For the second consecutive year running, more U.S. soldiers died as a result of suicide than were killed during the course of combat. 468 soldiers took their lives this year, compared to 462 soldiers acknowledged to have died in the midst of fighting. Mathis Chereau, a war veteran turned activist interviewed for RT News, attributes the tragedies to war guilt and an inability of soldiers upon re-entering civilian society to readjust to moral parameters which haven't much bearing on the battlefield. We come home feeling terrible, despicable about what we did and saw, said Chereau, going on to say that the laws of decency don't apply to soldiers in combat. And when you go back to trying to apply those laws to yourself every day, that, for many, leads to either the grave or jail. As sad evidence of the truth of that statement, 18 U.S. veterans take their lives every day. For YPN News, I'm Larry McGee. Katan Jeff, back to you.
Thanks, Larry, for that report. Katan, who would have ever thought that more soldiers die from suicide than from actual fighting in combat? For all of us here at YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Katan Alexander.
Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for the next program with Yishra Hawkins as he brings forth Bible prophecy and shows how it relates to the news.